Oh, yes, we are rolling.
Cool.
Man, I feel good this morning. I feel so good. Not only this is my first podcast, this is the My Little Underground podcast, and I'm Peter A. I feel good because after a crazy snowstorm, I was able to find a parking spot right in front of the building at the beautiful Continental Studios in Long Island City. And my guest today is a very special one because this guy has been with me since the start of my broadcasting career, so to speak. My first ever radio interview back at 90.3 WKRB. Good times were had by all. And this guy was like my first entry into supporting local music. I remember seeing him about 6-7 years ago at a nice little local coffee shop in Valley Stream called Sip This. He was in a band called Medicine Fish. And he has since started playing by himself, solo, under the name of Astronauto. Welcome, sir.
Hello, how are you? Thank you.
Man, I'm so excited.
I know you're good. You got the parking spot.
Yes.
It's automatic. Yeah,
yes.
A+ today. Yeah.
I am so good today. And, you know, the Astronauto project had a lot of genesis, just you playing solo shows way back. You had the little, I guess you can call it a demos EP of acoustic songs. Like Keyword Almost. No. To thy self be true. Yes, Keyword Almost is your other solo project. Yeah. That was like a family affair. Your cousin was on it.
Yeah. A band, The Red Lights. But by the time we got the album out, the band wasn't around anymore, so it didn't really make sense to use the name. So so it turned into another John Velsor thing.
There you go. Yeah. And a lot of those songs on To Thine Own Self Be True ended up on the first Astronauto project.
Yeah, there was 2 of them, and then there was another one that was on Astronauto II, Closer or Far. So it's like
one of my
favorites. The 2 main songs, and my 2 favorite songs of those, like one went on to one went on to 2. So,
I think there was 3. There was,
and then the song Luna.
Yeah, Luna, also, Just Like Me, and Closer Far.
Yeah. And then there was one called Barn Rag that became like a Medicine Fish song that we play.
Yeah,
at a lot of our shows. So
that's a popular one, and you kind of like turned that into kind of a crazy live performance jam thing.
Yeah, they all go just like from that acoustic demo that you mentioned to now it's like space synth orchestra. Yeah. In between things, it just grows from the original idea. If you just because you wrote it just yourself with a guitar doesn't mean it has to stay that way, so that's why I guess you call that a demo, because that's what it was. It was like, just the beginning of where a lot of those things wound up.
But that's really what Astronauto is all about, because you have a certain like melody line that you create, and then you just keep adding on top of it and adding on top of it and adding on top of it, because you're essentially a one-man band. But I've always told people, and I've written about it, you're kind of like one guy turning into like 6 people. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like literal. Like, I'm not even kidding around.
Cool.
If people go see you, it's like, man, that's one dude? How's he doing that by himself? Cool. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I love it. So your other project, Medicine Fish, you started playing shows again, because I know you've been very busy with Astronauto, and you recently played at the Port Washington Library. Yeah. Was there a good turnout then?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. Definitely, like we were saying, this is like one of the most professional feeling interviews. That was one of the most professional feeling concerts, because we played really nice places, but it's usually like some sort of hassle situation where you got to play 20 minutes on a show with 10 other bands for the promoter to afford that nice place. And this is like, some concert series they put on, and they had us, and there's like kind of a built-in crowd, and they put out a newsletter and stuff, and a lot of like more like old school, but really into cool rock and roll, had seen it. The guy was telling us, like they had seen shows at the Fillmore and stuff. So like there's like, a really cool fan base came, and it was really fun. So yeah, it was good to be back. We never stopped like jamming or anything. We hadn't played shows for about 4 or 5 months. So regardless of where it was just really fun to play out.
Yeah, because what I've noticed about Long Island is that recently this year, in 2017, we've been to a few too, shows at libraries,
it doesn't sound cool, but it is.
Oh my God. Like we saw Rory Kelly at Long Beach.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And we also got good parking that day too.
Yes.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that was a beautiful space too.
Yeah, very cool.
I almost forgot I was in a library.
Yeah, we had played another one. Actually, I was going to say it was a library. It was actually like like the rec center part of a church. I also played a show with Rory Kelly.
Yeah,
I was playing with Claire, and
she's so good.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, we haven't done anything in a little bit. But we're talking. She just sent us an email with a bunch of new songs to work on and stuff. So that we're going to be working on and stuff. So gearing up for some new stuff with that. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, she was so interesting because I remember when I interviewed her, she hurt her foot, I think, and she was like, on crutches and stuff like that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and it was also snowing too, and it turned out to be one of the coolest interviews I've ever done. Yeah, it was awesome. And another great Long Island library show that I've been to was Beechcraft Bonanza, Nectar, and Panda Fan. I missed out Panda Fan, but I walked in just in time for Nectar. And Beechcraft Bonanza, incredible. Because they're like a loud, garagey punk band playing in a library. It's so like,
cool.
What? You don't expect that. And it was a really cool flea market. I bought the first Screaming Females album, and it was wrapped in plastic. I was like, this is so cool, and this is Long Island. And people have, their own opinions about Long Island, but I see the cool things. I've seen the cool and the corny things about Long Island. So
anywhere you go, absolutely anywhere in the world, it could be the coolest spot in the world. You go into like, the sports bar and you don't know anything about sports, you're gonna be like, oh, this sucks. So Long Island is, in most places, it's just a, the cool ratio is pretty small compared to the rest of the people around. If you're talking about like music and artsy stuff in general, anything individualistic, and that's why they call it individualistic, because most people don't get it, So it's anywhere you stick around long enough, and if you're an interesting person, even if there's not something going on there, like if you just for an example, Long Island, well, you sit there, do something interesting, and even if nobody knows about it, it's an interesting spot if it's where in your basement for that moment where you're doing something interesting, right? So if people define themselves by like location, like so much, this kind of person, I live here, I live there, rural, I feel like everyone's kind of the same after the initial hour. Like, how do you do acquaintance conversation? We all have the same interests and hang-ups, Yeah. There's always going to be half the people who get what you're talking about and the other half who kind of, and then the one or two people who really get what you're talking about. So yeah, I don't mind it, for all the hang-ups, and, the traffic sucks, but.
Long Island traffic is not as bad. I mean, the Southern State gets a little crazy, but overall, it's whatever. It's nothing compared to the boroughs. Nothing compared.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That goes without saying. Yeah, that's,
And you probably noticed this. I mean, a lot of people we probably grew up with in high school and stuff like that saying XYZ about whatever town in Long Island. Oh, there's nothing to do here. They're waiting for things to come to them.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And a lot of artists took it upon themselves. Like, you know what? There's no venues here that are booking me, so let me just put on a show. Let me just do something and attract people to come. You know what I mean? Let's do our own thing. Yeah. And I've noticed that, well, for me, in Valley Stream, like you grew up in Valley Stream, you probably understand this. People saying, there's nothing to do here. There's nothing to do here. And I'm like, this is a place to raise a family and to go to school. And that's it. And that's what I understood. Because you know what? 30 minutes away, New York City. By train and by car. Yeah. So it's like, here can be boring. Doesn't matter, because I can go to Brooklyn, I can go to Queens, I can go to Manhattan and hang out and do whatever. You know what I mean? But one thing I've noticed at Sip This, when Medicine Fish started playing and Astronauto and all that stuff, I'm like, something is different now. I didn't expect to enjoy a musician here. I didn't expect that growing years ago. And now I'm like, wherever I'm at, whoever's playing, if they're good, they're good. If they're not, they're not. It has nothing to do with what location they're from. Oh, they're from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. And we didn't do that on purpose. It's not like we set out to be like, oh, we're going to make Long Island interesting, or we're going to stay where we are and stick to our roots. It was just, I didn't have enough money to live anywhere else. And I just didn't, I was kind of bound to a place with a certain amount of a population in order to like make a living off of just giving guitar lessons and playing music and stuff. And so I just didn't have the money or opportunity to even, in Brooklyn and Queens is like even just way more expensive. Or I just got lucky finding a crappy, cheap apartment, and then life happened and we had to go here and there and circumstance. So it wasn't even up to me to be here or there. And I guess that's why it pisses me off that sometimes I'm somewhere else in the world. And like, you're from Long Island? And I'm like, Yeah, but I'm starving, man. I'm not some rich, like I just came down from my castle to entertain you with my music. I'm hungrier than you are, man, and you have a nicer phone than me and nicer shoes. So, don't be hating.
Yeah, that's become your catchphrase. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you have a nicer phone than me. Like, you look at people.
I'm not like getting a crappy phone on purpose or anything. It's just an example of I never thought of like here or there. I've never fit in anywhere. I went on a grand scale, and that's why we're musicians and artists and all that stuff and talking to each other in this room because
and you're not waiting for people to come give you attention. You're not waiting.
I gave up on that a long time ago, and that's what all this music's about now. It's to not really have any statement, rather than it's not for myself in a selfish way. It's just I'm going to let it be what it is. I'm not going to be hung up on if it's cool enough, if I'm in Nashville or LA or something. My basement happens to be the spot where I got the minute to record. My friend knows where it is, so we can meet here, and
you're not looking for a scene.
And yeah. So the fact that people are starting to be drawn to it and think that we're doing something exciting and new and interesting is really cool, because it's kind of like we set out to do that, but then after a while it was like the driving force of sticking to it was to just do it. We were like, well, forget this whole trying to become popular, not famous or anything, but get a good fan base and touring and feeling like a rock star once in a while, and it was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to keep doing it because I'm going to go crazy if I don't. And I'm just going to let the songs be what they are. And the fact that not like I ever tried to stuff the songs into a box anyway and be like 3-minute radio hits or nothing like that. But, to be like really, not screw it, but really just go for it and really try to break walls down and just see what happens with the, basically all the ideas that when I would say out loud, everyone in the band or the studio would like laugh and go like, what? It became the opposite when Nick Vito and I started recording together. And, again, it was 100% the opposite. Let's turn the water faucet on so we have the ambience in the background. And instead of being like, what are you talking about? Okay. And like without questioning why or how or what that's going to do, we never did that specifically. Yeah. But I mean, like, crazier shit probably,
We'll talk about Sir Nick Vito in a little bit, man. He's an interesting dude. And you and him get together, it's magic.
Yes. Thank you, man. It really is. I was talking about it with someone the other day, and it's like it is the same feeling of like a great jam session when we're recording together. Even the mixing and production part of it, when there's no even instruments or playing going on, it just feels like we're on like the tail of this like animal that's like running through the jungle or something. There's just such a creative flow going. It's a real euphoric like feeling like you're on the verge of a schizophrenic episode. There's like so much energy and really, really fun and really cool to just have the opportunity of, he's really good at this and that. The recording stuff, I'm really good at this and that, the playing stuff. He is too. It's just in the context of when we work together. And we just like let it go. And with Astronauto 3, I kind of like made peace with the fact that like it wouldn't be as good as the 1 and the 2, because those were just, they happened and I couldn't believe 1 came out as good as it did. And then I thought for sure 2 wouldn't. And I was like amazed that everyone thought it was, a lot of people said it was better. Most people said they were like as good or whatever. And I was like, well, 3, we'll just do it for fun. Like we said, it was like, I didn't even think I had enough songs for an album, but then they ended up being such wild compositions and got added to, where now it's by like a few seconds. I think it's the longer of, like 2 and 3 are both like 45 minutes long about. And it came out like really, we were so satisfied with it. It just really happened. The most natural, organic process of writing and performing and playing, and really like amazing to be a part of. And the fact that there is a finished product to show people, like a document of that fun that we had, it would have been cool enough just to do it for the hell of it and to have fun in the moment, and getting ultra nostalgic now.
Yes. I mean,
so much
that's
fun,
why I do this
so
kind of
much
thing,
fun.
because it's like there's a lot of moments in my life that are like, man, if we had 2 microphones in front of us, we can make magic. You know what I mean? So I kind of just ran with that. The quirkiness of me and my brothers are just, we have to capture that on mic. You know what I mean? And I know Astronauto is like your child, and Medicine Fish is like the extended family. So do you have any new Medicine Fish in the tank? Any new tracks coming?
Oh, there's a few things swimming in that tank.
All right.
Well, we've been cooking up a
Charlemagne
bunch of stuff.
Blue 2.
Yeah, we were gonna. The joke. I don't know if we're gonna do it. I think we should. We've named our albums after kings so far. Charlemagne Blue and Henry was the last one. So we're saving the next one will be a double album, one of songs, one of instrumental tracks, and it'll be Ivan the Great / Ivan the Terrible. Like the Russian czars. So that's what I'm rooting for. And no one said yes or no. They all just kind of laugh when I say it.
You should keep like the aquatic theme going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it might be like tube swim or something like that. We might like how we made the name Medicine Fish, just putting words together. So
like Charlie Bliss had Guppy and Vince Staples had Big Fish Theory, and it worked well. I think the fish thing is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Work with that because you guys have a really cool logo too.
Oh, thank you,
man. You got to make more Medicine Fish t-shirts.
Yeah, that's the next investment. Yeah, but we've been we've been working on. We've done in our last year. Our mission statement was to first of all really learn the songs we already had. We had a repertoire. We had a thing of like, besides the Astronauto music, we just took like most of the songs I've written throughout the years, and we play like most of the repertoire. And every show is different, and so although we haven't written too many songs in the last 2 years, I put most of my new songs into Astronauto. It's we're like finally learning. It feels like they're brand new because we're finally we'll play a set of songs, and some of those songs we won't play again for 6 months.
Yeah.
If we do. When we're super busy, we'll do a show every weekend for a little while, so it'll be 4 or 5 shows before we see a song the next time. And that might be months. Even at the quickest, it'll be like at least a month or 2, So anyway, now we're finally conquered our repertoire, and we took it upon ourselves to learn a bunch of ridiculous covers, and like we did side 2 of Abbey Road, like the Abbey Road medley.
Yeah,
and,
that was something else.
And we did like a Grateful Dead after party, 2 of them, and we're real jerks to ourselves and made ourselves learn a pretty different set of music for either one. So, we were like really challenging ourselves and got a creative kick off of that because it wasn't just like we surrendered and became a cover band. We were still playing, mostly original. No, we never would, And that's the thing. We were approaching it like it was like not just playing a song that's going to get people jumping and dancing. We were doing stuff that was really hard to play, especially just as 4 people, things that like on a studio recording had a bunch of stuff going on, and trying to do it in a way that people liked and we didn't sound like crap and people were making fun of us. So now that we gained all those new powers and telepathy with playing each other, we'll be starting to work on some new stuff now that Astronauto's out and stuff. So
yeah, a lot of the things that I've been hearing like about Medicine Fish, as far as like your technical ability, a lot of people think, oh, these guys are so tight. And this, the one thing I hate when I hear is that when people say, yo, they play this band very well. Oh, they play the Grateful Dead songs very well. They play the Beatles songs. That kind of like, you know what? I want to hear their stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, covers are cool, but it's like the best part of the performance is what they do to their own songs. Like how you guys manipulate 100 things. It's just like, it's great to see that because this is their art that they're like expanding upon. The best part of the show is not the cover. You know what I mean?
No, and that's okay when people say that, and we're not playing them to draw people in, but it's more, when it's Astronaut, although I cover songs once in a while, it's more of like a, that coffee shop library kind of vibe where it has to be small. You're more like people sitting down and leaning forward, quietly listening. Medicine Fish, like part of it is a party atmosphere. So when there's people who are fully initiated, when we start to play 100 Things or Barn Rag or any of our songs, yes, but even the people who are into us but haven't been with us for 6 or 7 years, again, even if you see us pretty regularly, if you only see every third show we play, even if you see every other show we play, it's still going to be a while before you know all our songs. So the cover songs, and again, we're creative with them and we love doing them too. It's like,
yeah, that's it.
It gives ourselves a challenge. We don't do things that are like, oh, well, let's play this song that'll, bring the people in. So it's like, it'll give them that same excitement that hopefully they'll have eventually with our songs, And again, it's just fun for us to play those tunes. And that's part of the project is to, our take on cover songs. The best versions are, you pay like an homage or show that you've done your homework listening to the original, and then also add something to it and put your own spin on it. And it's, just like how in the world of classical music or jazz, it's a lot more like a distinction. There's the composer and then there's the musicians, where it's like you could be the most noted like piano player or violinist in the world, probably haven't written too much, and they're known for their interpretations of Beethoven and Brahms and all that, right? So we don't take it that ultra seriously, but we try to do the same thing. Like, a band like the Grateful Dead, a lot of people between your and my age would be like, no, my dad listened to them. Absolutely not. They're completely lame. And it's like, well, if they had a really, and it's easy to think that if you listen to a certain amount of their songs, but we play those songs that are like, not even just that they're technical, just really something that were artistically interesting, that broke barriers and was like, shit, and we learned something, and we wrote songs differently after learning those songs.
Yeah.
So that's where we're coming from it's kind of our homework. We just, in our serious artsiness of how we approach our own music, we kind of studied the repertoire just to, you got to know where you're coming from to get to where you want to go,
And some of those songs,
it's our heritage.
Yeah,
like
some of those will become like standards, I think.
Of course, it's our folk music. It's just like everything else, where you gotta, you can't be a world class violin player without knowing who Beethoven was, right? You can't be a person at all and not know who Albert Einstein was. It's just silly, and then you're gonna end up being the type of person who watches the Kardashians and that kind of crap on TV. No, okay if you have a guilty pleasure or whatever, but you know what I mean. Like that fast food nation type of like mentality comes from being just not like you have to be ultra intellectual or anything. You just kind of stay tuned to what's going on around you.
Yeah.
So it's just the same thing. We're like, if we're a rock band, we should be showing like that we've studied the Woodstock era stuff, even if that's not like our main bread and butter. It's just kind of and that's the thing, that's part of that project, and that's why I'm like a nut job and have a million different bands, because I have a million different points I want to prove, where Astronauto, I want it to be its own thing, where it's like if I do a cover song, it's for fun, and it's a show where I know there's more friends that love that song, or the person who booked it, I know they mentioned like they really love that artist or something,
Yeah, it's like paying homage.
Yeah, but it's more like its own, I want it to be its own original, like more that composer relationship with the music.
I totally
you wouldn't want to see hearing Nick Drake cover a Rolling Stones song, you want to hear Nick Drake be Nick Drake, so not like I'm like any of the people I mentioned. I'm just saying like in my own head where I'm coming from, like this is that thing, that's that thing. So hence the 17 and a half bands I play in. So.
It's homage, right? Paying homage or homage. I heard
I say it both ways.
Okay. I don't want to sound like an idiot.
I'm not sure. I think it's homage.
Okay. Whatever.
Homage.
There's a lot of things we mispronounce. As long as you don't, just get people's names right. I think that's it. Yeah.
Exactly, Peter.
Yeah. Oh man. Yo, I've gotten some wacky things for my last name. Oh man, Ariago, Ariana. It never ends.
Yeah,
it just never ends.
I get a lot. Velsor, and people just read it too quick, I guess.
Yeah. So 80 plus shows in 2017 as Astronauto. Now, like, I want to.
No, that's all together. 82.
82.
The overwhelming amount was Astronauto. At least, you see, it's so funny how the world works backwards sometimes. We start out with MySpace with social media, right? Mm-hmm. Just hear me out on this for a second, please. So upset. So MySpace, you make a band page, right? Back in 06, whatever the hell it was, maybe even earlier. And it had a music player. You upload your songs, and it had your show schedule, and then you could post things to your fans, and it showed the links to the bands you were friends with. Then Facebook comes, and it's just the band page, and there's a whole distinction between a company's page or a band's page and a person's page. So right there, it's like less removed. No music player show schedule. You got to link it up with the websites. In the last year, all the show schedule platforms have either closed down or become not free anymore. And the Bands in Town app, which was like the best, that was just your show schedule. You just put in, and not even to promote or anything, just for me to keep track of it was my calendar. And they closed it down there. So it's so funny now. It's like, you
really?
can't
I
even
still
tell.
Bands in
so
Town
many things are forward.
Things.
Yeah, and they have it linked up where you can go to their site, but it's super glitched out and it gave my computer a virus. So
really?
I just go by Facebook events and just telling people, and people ask me, I just take the time to type it all out. So Anyway, I'm sorry to get off on a tangent, but it's so annoying that it's like you're just trying to play music and everyone's got to try to make money on everything at every step of the way. And here I am fucking eating goddamn granola bars, trying to support my wife and kids.
There you go.
God damn it. So it's just, it's really annoying that to try to, this country and probably the rest of the world makes it near impossible to try to do the right thing and not think of money ever, which I hate. I try to get rid of it as fast as possible. It's disgusting.
Right. And with SoundCloud, people, when I doing radio and college radio and stuff like that, people tell me, yo, you on SoundCloud? I'm like, no. Why? Because after a certain amount of uploads you have to start paying them.
Oh, it's a certain X amount of time. You have like 2 hours worth of, so I just
have like, me, like I was like 10 hours in a week probably, Not even, no, maybe like in a month.
Oh, yeah, well, for
crazy.
What you're using it for, you can't really keep it current. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so I had to, Mixcloud was great because it was just whatever I wanted for as many time, they didn't charge me anything. Like they have a premium thing, but it's like, you don't need it if you're just uploading your whatever every week. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
so
I want to know a lot of your time management skills, like your management strategies, because like it's just, I don't understand. Like you got
no sleep,
Medicine Fish, Astronauto, you got a kid, you got all these teaching jobs. Where like what is your day to day? Like I get up and have my granola bar, and then book a show, book shows 10 shows down the line, or like what's your your mentality? I don't get it. It's crazy. I'm envious.
You said don't be. Thank you though. You ever see that part in 2001, A Space Odyssey, where it's like just the colors flashing for about 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So my day is like this, right? I know they can't see this on the radio, but I'm laying down. I wake up, like always, like about 10 minutes before my alarm, which is always set way too early. And I get up, I kind of like put my hands through my hair, and all of a sudden it's that scene of Space Odyssey for like about 8 hours, and then I wake up in a different spot than where I woke up, and that's kind of how my day-to-day routine is. It's just a complete blur of activity.
No. It's kind of like you just like, it's like an instinct thing with animals. You're just doing things, but like you have to do it. You can't control it. You just do it because it's part of your...
Yeah. It is crazy. And I'm of the last year, I'm starting to realize how crazy it's been. A lot of people ask me if I'm okay and how I'm doing it. And I'm
Me too.
Just like earlier when we were talking about the, location and all that, and not really deciding to be where you are in my life, at least. It's the same thing. I just was going with the flow, and I just made peace with, when I started the Astronauto thing, it was the whole, I know I want to do this on a level, activity wise, I want to do this more frequently than everyone else, and I really don't want to do anything else, like to the point where like I would rather die than work at a supermarket kind of retail job, because I did that for years and years, for like 6 or 7 years, and I'm not being dramatic. Life like that is not worth living for me. I just can't do it. I'm not saying people like that are wasting their... No, I'm like, I really respect people who could hold down like normal people or day-to-day jobs or hard jobs like construction. My brain works that way where it's like I can do this. This is the thing that makes sense to me. Everything else I've tried to do has been just completely fucked up and derailed by who I am, for better or worse. I can't be in those situations. So I just said to myself, oh, I want to do this impossibly hard thing that does not make money. I'm going to have to make peace with the fact that I'm going to be incredibly busy and have to basically be a slave to it. And that's what you mean by dedicating yourself to it, and that give what it takes, all that stuff. I guess that's what it comes from is, well, you can't have a normal sleep schedule if you're wanting to do all these things and you agree to all these, projects and stuff. And this is what I really feel like it's like what I need to be doing, and everything else I would be doing, whether I, am, working a job or trying to hold down this or that. I'm just not good at it. I just can't get it, and music, I don't just get, like, I really get, and I understand it. And, I've always felt bad, like saying like, well, I'm really good, or, I think I'm the best. I'm not the best or anything, but, it's nothing to do with that. I just felt like I'm meant to do it, and I'm not meant to do anything else. And so it's fucked up where to not be doing this thing, because I got to make money, blah blah blah. Well, it's like, no, this is the thing people have told me, and yeah, it's a small group of people, but people have said things to me, really inspiring things, like, I really love what you're doing, and I listen to your, several people have told me, like, help them through rough times, and got them through situations, and like, how could I not do something like that and do something that makes money instead, right? So but you got to make money especially when you have a kid. So that's where the sacrifice of sleep and really believing in it. And I say to myself, is it worth like giving up myself and my own, going out to hang out I hang out, I see my friends. It's all music, the music's an excuse, I see my band as my friends and you guys,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's why we don't just play in our basement. And no matter how annoying dealing with promoters and other people gets, we still deal with it and find a way to play shows as often as we can, because it's like really the only way we could really communicate with people in a way that doesn't get us into arguments, at least me, so it's literally the only way I could do it, so at this point, I'm hoping it generates more, not even success, but just interest, where I could have, once in a while, 6 hours of sleep once a week to recharge,
You got to do that.
So at this, and also, well,
then you'll start to suck.
If life was a bed of roses, then the music probably wouldn't be so great, and that's the thing. That's why a lot of people who say they deal with a lot of stuff, depression or anxiety, and that's what always makes me feel better when I feel like a lot of people aren't coming to my concerts. I'll be like, well, most of my fan base, the people who really love my music, are too afraid to leave their houses.
And to see more people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's very
anxious.
That's coming from somewhere. If I was treating myself like a normal person and not sacrificing and giving my all and going out to hang out with the diner and going to a bar every night to not play, to like hang out at a bar every night, then I probably would be feeling a little more comfortable, and I wouldn't have the upsetting, the world is so fucked up, how come I'm giving my 110,000% and barely surviving. At this point, I'm doing a little better. Don't feel too bad for me. I'm alive,
Yeah.
But, again, it comes at a cost. And, to see other people who have like these, like, looking down on me because I don't have a real job. And it's like, I see them, with a good schedule and, supporting their, not worrying about where tomorrow's coming from, so that's why you have to sacrifice yourself to make something great, so not to martyr myself or nothing. I don't need to get too serious, but
you're good.
People are like, whoa, like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, look, man, things are hard. And, so I wonder where the balance is, if it's going to start getting more popular, or I'm gonna just not be able to keep up with the level of activity and just have to say fuck it and hit the wall and start to just vegetate a little more, sit on the couch a little more, and feel happy, but then I'll suck and I won't be inspiring, and people say how much of a sellout I am, or not like anyone's even listening. This is hypothetical in my head, what my paranoid delusions. So
I think that's why Astronauto is so crazy,
and that's why I still do it even when I have these dark feelings. It's like, well, whatever. I started doing this because I love it, so I shouldn't complain about how hard things are, because I really did do it to myself. So.
Having a conversation with you for like a half hour kind of puts you in perspective in a lot of things. Like, what am I doing with my life?
And it's it's all, a lot of it is feeling like, wow, I really screwed myself. I painted myself into a corner, and I've burned every bridge in every other way where I can't get another job, because I've told everyone how much their jobs suck and how great I am for being my own man. And now I'm dealing with the consequence of my actions. Not, and for a while it looked like, wow, I really fucked up. I'm going to have to be sitting on the, on the lines for, welfare for the rest of my life and shit. And, it never came, that's the thing. I guess maybe it's too much pride. I qualified for it. I probably still do. I never, I just, again, you can't say you hate money and you're not materialist. Being a non-materialistic person and saying you're about the art and about living and blah, 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 and nature, and then go suck money from the welfare and talk about it's okay because it's the government's money. Well, I don't want money in the first place. That's why I am the person I am. So, you could keep that money too, and give it to the people who want it and who need it more than I do, because they're far more. I still get my vitamins, so I'm all right, from a survival point now.
So going into 2018, you're trying to top last year, or like, are you going to be more? You're going to be more calculated in how you go about booking these shows. You know what I mean?
The more I do it, the more I realize how little control I have over it. And I was talking to Matt Beto, Nick's brother of 3BC and of Rugsuck. Yeah. How dare you not mention 3VC? No, wait, now I'm going to forget what you asked.
Man. I'm calculated in all these, man.
I was saying, I really hit the wall with gigging around September. I was saying 82 gigs last year. More than, I think about 75 of them were up into September. In October, I had a few bad you agree to everything. Not everything's going to be great. And I just hit the wall. If you're playing 3 times a week, mostly in the same area, people are going to stop coming. It's nothing to do with people got tired of me or stopped liking me or I started doing a bad job. It was just, I had a few shitty circumstances and I got really down on myself. And I only did like 2 shows per month the rest of the year. And they were all really low key to like, no more than 20 people, probably each of them. Although I feel like personally some of my favorite shows up until that library show I was talking about, then that was like a pretty nice, really big, cool show,
Yeah.
And so I don't want to hold myself to anything anymore. Like, of course, in my imagination, what do I want to do? I want to tour the globe and see all kinds, sleep in my car and do the same thing I've been doing. That's the thing, though. I can't do it to 5 people in Ohio and drive that far where there's 6 people and, the venue in Valley Stream or Lynbrook or whatever.
You ever think about playing the boroughs?
I want to, man. I'd love to. And that's the thing. I don't know if it's poor typing skills or they're just too busy to respond to people they don't know personally. I send out emails and I just don't get responses, you know?
Like where have you?
Nowhere. And that's the thing. And I'm not going to pour in me about that crap because I stopped doing it like years ago, like before Astronauto, most of it. And that's the thing. Yeah, if I emailed someone, maybe I could get a gig. That's the thing. I'm just like, I almost feel like if it's good enough to be there, someone's going to ask me for it. I just can't deal with the whole, you walk into the room and wow, this place is packed. This is awesome. And some, not even necessarily crappy band, but like a band who obviously is just doing it for fun and, which nothing wrong with. And they have, then after they're done, realize they have all their friends there. And it's like the one show per year they play. As you're setting up, you see everybody leaving. And then it's the 2 people who drove in with you and the 4 people who are too drunk to leave yet. And I just can't take it anymore, man. I'd rather sit home, especially the hassle besides today, like parking and one-man bands. It's not as, fantastic as it sounds when you're setting up. It's not as magical as it looks in the cool pictures where people take, where the reality is I'm parked 2.5 blocks away and I have 4 people's worth of shit to bring in and it gets bigger and bigger. And my arms are just constantly killing me, man. I just physically can't do it anymore. I just cannot do it without help. And that's, I talk about how rotten money is. And that's where I need a little bit of it because I literally need to get to the point. And I've been getting down on myself lately where it's like, I don't even have enough money to have someone help. I'm literally not able to physically do it no matter how bad I want to anymore. And that's the thing. That's why I don't book in Brooklyn and shit because I'm by myself. And, I have like one friend who I know personally and a bunch of people, they hear I'm from Long Island, the people who do ask about me and they write me off immediately. So it's like I'm bitter. I love Brooklyn and Queens and I love going to shows and that's the thing. That's, you hear the frustration of the music. It's not just specifically about not being booked in Brooklyn. Yeah. It's about like, what am I doing wrong? I have on one side people saying I saved them from a suicidal episode and I'm such an inspiration and, I probably shouldn't have even said that because that's so personal. And I would never say who or no one, or any of you people listening. And you're
not the only one. There's other bands that have told me that. Yeah.
Like I was laughing at like the word legend came up a few times. Like the last 3 days since I released the album, I think 2 or 3 people said, dude, you're a legend, blah, blah, blah. And I know they were just being cute and funny with me, but it's like, I have people literally saying like, you are one of the biggest inspirations musically to me, blah, blah, blah. I love your music. And then other people who like don't give a shit at all. And like, so it's like, I can't take this, I can't take this, because then I get all hyped up. I'm thinking how great things are going. Finally, after, now half my life, I'm 30. I played my first concert when I was 15. And from my first show, I was like, oh, there's nobody here, no one cares, I'm dying to do this,
I've been to shows in Brooklyn recently that would be the opposite of what you would usually expect from Brooklyn.
And I'm like, and that's the thing, I'm like, just hoping finally I play a show with a band from Brooklyn and they're like, dude, you're fucking sick. You need to come. And, basically for someone to return the favor, like all the Sip This and Patty Quinn shows I put on, and everybody I meet whose music I like, I have them on the show. And I'm not saying no one's ever helped me out. It's just they all seem to be local people, and any touring bands I've ever met, they happen to not answer my emails. And I see their little thing on Messenger. They read my email. And it's just, they got their hands full with their own friends and their own gigs. And I don't take it personal anymore. It bums me out that it's just, I see a lot of other people who also deserve it, and it just happens. I see the hard work pay off. And I see it with myself too. And don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of great shows I play with. A lot of people show up and all. And I know it's reaching the people. But that's the thing. I feel like my gigging constantly, it's reached the people it needs to reach. And it's going to keep going. And I keep joking.
And that reach can probably get bigger.
Yeah, and I keep joking. The people who I get related to, sound-wise or influence-wise, they're all people who either died or went insane before their music would hit a mass scale of popularity.
You outlived Jimi Hendrix. And you outlived John Morrison. You outlived Amy Winehouse. You outlived Kurt Cobain. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, I got that Amy Winehouse influence hardcore in the Astronauto. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
So it's the whole thing of. Well, I want to gig. I love playing live. We've been talking about the negative side of it a lot during this conversation. I shouldn't have been probably. It's what I really.
That was
really
you. I walked
for.
in with a smile on my face. I got a good parking spot out here. You ain't bringing me down today. No, it's
hell
good,
yeah,
man.
Doug.
We're keeping it real.
Yeah, it's the best thing in the world, and that's what the thing is. It shouldn't be so frustrating to just trying to do something you love just to share.
You're not the only one.
It's a lot.
There's a lot of people that have your frustrations.
And that's why, so anyway, to the question that happened probably 20 minutes ago that you asked me, what am I planning on this year? I wish I could be doing 80 more, 160 shows.
There you go.
And I don't give a shit if it's, and I'm not saying to a lot of people or to a big crowd. I would love to do a tour that wouldn't be a pain in the ass I can't take the rejection anymore of trying that hard. So I'm going to ease up more in the way of I'm not going to seek as much. And I'm going to try newer things. I'm not going to agree to every little thing. I want to start to make a better effort to come into Brooklyn, get on other radio shows, do hopefully a more legit tour of more actual venues rather than the place that answered my email and I dealt with and really shouldn't have gone,
Yeah.
And I really hope, having a more positive outlook and really telling people I really honestly need help. And to, my whole mission statement was I just wasn't finding the people who were connecting, who were willing to be as passionate as I was about being dedicated to doing what it takes to get it out there. And it's a lot easier, even if you're in a 2-piece, just to split up that work with 2 people, So I'm hoping now there'll be some helping hands to help it out a little more, And hopefully the music speaks for itself and it happens. I'm just really hoping for a natural progression to the next thing because I really want to keep doing it and I love it so much. And I just want to do it more and more. And
keep doing
it. Tired of feeling like the nerdy kid at school sitting alone at lunchtime, But that's what's made me so good at what I do. And that's what's birthed Astronauto. You literally look at it and I'm like, it's like Pink Floyd's The Wall Illustrated. I've shut myself out. I've built this literal, at this point, spaceship's worth of shit around to me. And at this point, I have 3 keyboards, 3 looping, the guitar, And it's because, no one wants to play with me and I want to play, I'm going to fucking play, you know?
So let's talk about 3BC. One of your other very interesting projects.
The second entire half of the interview.
Yeah, Matt Beto, a.k.a. Mac Beto. You guys have a 3rd album in the works. And this is what I'm talking about with your time, man. Your 3rd album,
the guy from
right?
3BC is Mac the Bong.
Mac the Bong. Yeah.
I don't know who those other people are. Yeah.
But here's, it's crazy because, again, go back to the time management. You got 3BC, you got Medicine Fish, and you got Astronauto. I don't understand. There's do you feel that in one creative outlet you're putting more than another? Or it's just you know what? I'm playing music. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's it's really hitting, that point where it's such a flow, back to the busyness and stuff. We were talking about how I do it, and the reason why I do it is because I love doing all these things, and I love playing with all the people I play with, and it's such a groove. It's mostly Astronauto is what I spend most of my time, just because every point I'm alone and not, giving music lessons or being a dad or whatever. I'm playing. So when I'm by myself, it's Astronauto, I guess, by default, right? So it's mostly Astronauto. No, it's such a natural flow of things, and I really love it, and it's such a great outlet, 3BC. It's so cool. It's like undiluted, unfiltered, and it's so funny. We joke, like, we started it as such as just for fun. Like, it was just the best inside joke ever that, like, got out of hand, and
way out of hand.
100%. Just for even more than Astronauto, because as much as that was just fuck it all, go for it, do what you love, and just really go for it, it was still a studio, microphones, making sure it sounded good. 3BC, we literally recorded the first few on an iPad, Matt's iPad. He just put it on. I remember the one we just threw it into a random location. He just threw it onto the couch, and thank goodness it landed on the couch and didn't bounce onto the floor and break, because it could have. And I remember he pressed record and he threw it. It was so cool. Yeah. And we literally just jammed. And it's 100% improvised. And the fact that so many people know about it, and that was a wake-up call for me to, like, stop being so hard on myself with the gigging and trying to prove something like a madman. Because I was like, 3BC has reached, like, as many people
as it's going to reach. And,
like, in a lot of ways, we joke the amount of people out of state who listen to 3BC, and it's like, Matt and I go to a lot of Fish shows together. And it's just the amount of, more often than not, I'll run into someone like an acquaintance of so-and-so's friend who's from Louisiana or Massachusetts. And it's just, not as many people, obviously, because we do it as a joke. We never play shows, and we put the albums up, and we joke. We probably spend more time, because I do all the albums in Paint, super ghetto, and we do these parodies of classic rock album covers. It probably takes more time than the actual, because we just press record, and it's the 40 minutes we're playing. And then our friend Jimmy just puts it through an equalizing, like, mastering program real quick, and we put it up. And I actually probably spend a few hours making the artwork.
Yeah, you guys have quite a following, like, in upstate New York, like in Potsdam.
Yeah, and it's so funny, and people, just like I was saying with Medicine Fish covering things and paying homage to, like, it's the same thing. It's pure music. It's the love of just going for it and playing. And we started as a joke, but when you really think of it, it's a really cool, like, comedy meets serious project. And with the whole, it's funny, and, like, we take all, like, the classic rock, like Exile on Main Street and All Things Must Pass, and Exile on Bong Street and All Bongs Must Pass, but the effort that goes into, like, making the album covers and coming up with the idea, it turns into, like, you're actually seriously trying to make it look like a finished product. And it's like really fun, and so undiluted by all those things I was talking about before. And a great release, and
Matt Beto told me something. I don't know if he was kidding. He was probably kidding, because I laughed out loud when he said it. He was like, "Yo, man, you got to play 3BC on the radio, man." I'm like, "You got to be on drugs or something."
He is,
because
we all are. Yeah,
30-minute songs. Get out of here. It's cool just to listen to, like, when you're on the back.
Yeah, not radio. No, that's like really late at night, really low on the dial. College
real
radio,
low
that's
on
like
the dial.
2 a.m. 87.2.
Yeah, you're in safe harbor.
You don't even go even numbers on the points.
Absolutely, you can barely hear it. You're picking up the top 40 station from, like, Jersey. Like,
yeah. Sounds better that way.
Absolutely. So I know you're a big gamer too, and through all your endeavors and all your jobs, you still kind of find time to play video games. So you played the new Zelda, right? You got the new Zelda. You got the Switch, right?
I didn't get the Switch
because you got it for the Wii U.
It's 2013. I got the Wii U. It was my first new system since Nintendo 64, and I got a small window of time to catch up on the Twilight Princess Zelda game, and what was the other one? Skyward Sword, which I didn't even get to finish. That and the Mario 3D it came with. I play with my daughter Penelope,
Yeah, she beat her first level of Mario, right?
Yeah. Now
you must have been a proud father.
Within that several months, it was awesome. She full on plays it, She kills the bad guys and stuff. She actually kicks a little ass in it.
She's not like
she's only
Daddy
4.
do it
I'm not
for
gonna
me.
exaggerate. She's not like amazing, like getting all the hidden coins and shit. But I'm showing to her now. So
at 4 years old, I was barely getting through Road Rash.
Ah!
So, to her to beat a Mario level, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember playing Super Nintendo for the first time when I was 4, and I distinctly remember, and I got the system when I was 5, so yeah, I guess she's old enough to dig it. Anyway, so I knew I wouldn't need to, I probably wouldn't get around to playing another system for a while, and it's more like the love of the nostalgia. I don't actually get to play video games, not counting when I'm sitting, playing with Penelope. Same levels over and over again usually.
The time you spent doing this podcast, you could be playing Zelda right now.
Yeah, so the literally last 4 or 5 days of my life, I got to start the game Breath of the Wild. And, I was telling you after the first 2 little mini missions, you got to hunt a boar to get meat, to get a spicy dish to warm the guy up so he doesn't need his jacket, so he could give you his jacket so you can go into the mountains and do the next level. And I feel like Zelda games sometimes have this erroneous task with catching a fish or hunting a boar that takes you that should take 10 minutes and is really 6 hours long. So you learn the controls, and the next time you have to kill a boar, a stage or 2 later, it's the easiest task. But right now, I spent about an hour playing it yesterday, crouching in the forest waiting for a wild boar. I shot a wild duck, a goose or something, but I was like, this is too realistic. I really feel like I'm hunting, and I never had any interest in hunting at all. And
you know about the madness surrounding the Super Nintendo Classic? They reissued a mini version.
My cousin got it.
I'm thinking people are going crazy for this thing, 30 games built in, and Star Fox 2 that never came out, but you still have your Super Nintendo with all the games.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's fun. Yeah,
some people never, I bet some people like you who still have their Super Nintendo are like, you people laughed at me when I kept my Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Now look at y'all running around crazy, spending $200, $300 on this small thing when I still have mine.
Yeah.
Y'all crazy.
I'm very forward thinking about most things, except for video games. I'm a grumpy old man about them. It ain't the way it used to be, man. And I just can't. It's chasing the dragon at this point, playing too many video games. No matter how much better the graphics get and stuff, I'll never get that high from Super Nintendo. And the first time I played, that Zelda game, Ocarina of Time on Nintendo 64, the first time I played, to me, that was the perfect cross before the graphics got too real, where you're just hiding from reality and simulating it in your basement rather than.
Did you play Wind Waker?
Living in a cartoon is what video games felt like, right?
Yeah.
So Wind Waker.
For GameCube.
Wind Waker. No, I didn't have GameCube.
Oh,
it's on.
I didn't have GameCube
I want to
either.
play all of the Zelda games at some point. After I
they reissued it on the Wii U.
Oh yeah. They got everything on it. I wanted to buy it again. I just never had the time. Game. Yeah. So
of course not, because you've been making Astronauto 3, which I just heard in full yesterday. Gorgeous album. Oh, man,
thank
fantastic.
You very much.
I love the part, I think it's Limbrook Moonlight.
Yes.
Dude, you used to play it all the time live, right after Renovo Sunshine. Oh, man.
You get the names, right?
I've been telling you that you got to incorporate some of that wildness into your music, and it just happened. You know what I mean? You did it. I'm like, this is it. This is what I see and hear live, but on wax.
Oh, thanks, man.
Speaking of wax, are you going to do vinyl for this? You did tape for Astro 1 and 2.
Really wanting to.
Oh, you should.
I was looking. They have other, not vinyl, but lathe. I don't know how to pronounce it. LATHE. Mm-hmm. And they make records. It's a slightly cheaper version of vinyl, and the price is kind of reasonable to do an EP or a single. And we were pretty seriously discussing doing that. I don't want to disappoint anyone listening if it doesn't happen, but to get records pressed is so much. And I've really, at this point, again, all those things I was feeling super bitter about, I realize at this point, it might be worth to go back and do all that stuff. Try to, I don't want to ask people for money on Kickstarter or anything, though. I just wish there was some sort of interest or hope that there will be to someday get it all pressed on real deal vinyl. That would be so cool. That would be the
coolest thing.
The last thing that I need that I haven't accomplished yet. Because again, it's not about getting it to a scale. It's just the fact that I made these albums that I'm really happy with. And Astronauto 3, what you're saying, it was a lot of things that were in the beginning of the concept, and I feel like it represents the live sound the most, the flow of a live set of mine. Although most of the songs I can't play live with the setup, because a lot of the songs prior I wrote in a bit of accordance with being able to play them live. Not all the songs on both of the earlier albums,
but your live show is a different experience anyway.
Yeah. So there's those songs that I could loop that have enough repetitious parts that I could jive with them. These songs, I didn't worry, and that's like the slightly different thing about it. Compositionally, I went out of the box a little more, but there's those in-between segues and stuff, and those few songs that I can play live that are like, it's kind of funny and cool and ironic that it comes out more representative of my live sound. And a lot of those ideas, I just didn't want to forcibly stick them. Like a lot of those ambient soundscape and like the Limbrook Moonlight, that wasn't invented yet during the first record, and it just found its way into the point, not being like out of other material, so we used that instead. But it was finally time to focus on, okay, let's see how this could work in a studio. It's officially become its own song. It's 10 minutes long by itself live. So and that Limbrook Moonlight thing, it kind of picks up right where, like, what I do on the recording of Renovo Sunshine, where the song ends, it kind of fades out with some weird stuff. And when I play it live, that weird stuff goes on a little longer. Then the bass line drops and it officially becomes that next phase, which kind of evolved over a few concerts over the last couple of years. Really, only one of them, I guess. And yeah, it's really cool how it works out. It really is a trilogy, not just being lack of finding a name, the 1, 2, and 3, where it starts off, I think Renovo Sunshine is like the second song of the first album. And then that's the second to last song on the last album. Yeah. So it really, and it pokes its head in. There's a few samples of a live version of it going through the album. So it really ties up all the loose ends. There's a lot of similar themes throughout the album. And to have it literally have the beginning and the end, like writing wise, song wise, not just my concept or story wise, or that it just really flows really good one to the next altogether. It really does. It starts with the more acoustic-y song, the first one, Just Like Me. And then Renovo Sunshine starts the real trip, the story, the voyage or whatever. And then at the end, also Renovo Sunshine, it just goes completely fucking insane. But it's also that symbolicness of like, it's wrapping up the story. It's like, closing, it's the other side of the circle. And then there's that one last song, which is almost like the encore part of like, the show idea of it, but also like the landing, the voyage is over. It's like the prologue is afterward.
Prologue is the beginning. Yeah.
No, then the epilogue.
Epilogue is the end.
Yeah. Then, that last song is the epilogue. It's like afterwards, after they destroyed the dragon, it shows them living happily ever after in the village for a minute,
You recorded this 4 days straight, right?
Yeah, most of it. What happened, we did in August, one whole session. That was Nick came to stay with me. The other two albums, I went to stay with him in Pennsylvania, and we did the similar thing. Few days all together. So for 4 days we holed up in my basement. The one Sunday of that it was like a Saturday through a Tuesday, I think. That one Sunday I had a show booked, a friend's album release party in a backyard, and that's where the live samples that go throughout the album, they came from, halfway through just that day we packed up. Oh, and your brother Smiley, who is somewhere in the building right now. He came with us. He helped me road crew for that show. So he was there. Yeah. And that was like the only time we left the house for Civilization, was to play that show, to capture those sounds and then go back and fuse them into what we were cooking in the basement. Yeah. So we did the whole thing in 4 days, except for what left off. And I'll use the song names and you'll just have to listen to it to get familiar with them. The vocals to the song, What Are We Even Asking For? The song itself was completely written and composed and recorded, the whole thing, except for we didn't have any vocals, and I didn't even really have a vocal melody for it. So we're like, well, we know we'll get together at another point and do the vocals to that. The drums to Limbrook Moonlight, we didn't add yet. And then the last song on the album, Please Don't Say It's Over, which became like the lead single off the album. That I had some of the parts made up, but I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know if it would be like an instrumental, kind of like the song Earth Meets Robot, or if I would. And I almost felt like the melody was too much like the song Photographic Memory of mine, when like the first melodies I was toying around with. So I was like, let me let that song happen naturally. And the whole thing wound up in those 4 days. We did the whole song. The day after we wrapped up, and Nick split and went back home and everything, I sat down that night to record, to write the lyrics of that What Are We Even Asking For tune, right? And without making a conscious decision or anything, this song just came out literally in like 5 minutes. That last song just birthed itself, and I was like, lyrically, this is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. It's a pretty simple song, but I just like really resonated with me, and it was what the album was missing. Like before I was saying I made peace with, like, I didn't think people would like it or it was as accessible as 1 and 2 because it was so spacey and so many just us really balls to the wall going nuts, and having a blast. And here's this song that, like, wow, this wraps up the entire album with this nice, beautiful little ballad thingy, with these cool words. So a week later, we got back together and we did that song and the lyrics and the drums to those songs. So yeah, we did it all in 4 days. Then and I was sick and the lyrics to What Are We Even Asking For, the words, I was really sick when we recorded those. And so don't judge if you think I don't sound as good, but yeah, we did the song in one take. It was live, like the guitar and singing.
Yeah.
Because I knew I only had it in me to do that one, because then I had to sing that other song, which is, I really had to hit those higher notes and really give it my all. And I literally couldn't talk for 2 days after that from, giving it all, So, and then we got together several other times to mix it, in the months afterward.
So, working with James Messina,
oh,
also of Medicine,
the hat
guitarist. This is the first real time he actually did.
It's the first time he put his hat on the Astronauto.
Yes.
He's
a very calculated dude. Dude's a scientist.
Yeah. If he wasn't already the hat, he'd be the calculator. That's what Bob Dylan said about him. So what he would say about him.
An exclusive for Rolling Stone. Yeah.
For real, that's the truth be told. Yeah. So yeah, it's so funny because I think more of a percentage of Astronauto 3 is just me. With that, all of them are pretty much just me with a few friends, mostly Nick. It was just Nick on Astronauto 2, with slight percussion, like shakers and like a guitar riff in the background or some of the keyboard parts. And on Astronauto 1, his whole band, Ruckzuck, him, Matt, and Faith Kelly, all did percussion and a little bit here and there. And on 3, it's mostly me, but it has the most other people involved because my friend Robbie of Broseph Stalin. There he is. Kind of, we joke he was the spiritual supervisor. He kind of just attended most of the sessions. He just came and hung out, and does percussion on 2 of the songs. Matt swung by of 3VC and did some percussion on What Are We Even Asking For. Mm-hmm. Nick still did some percussion, although he didn't play any other instruments on this one like he did on the other ones. He did a little bit of melodica, and
okay.
Some percussion and stuff, and like a guitar riff here and there. Anyway, man, and we asked Jimmy to master it because Nick was saying he had always just done the mastering right. After we were done mixing, he would go through and EQ it, and that's it. And he always said, although it came out great and no one would ever know from how it sounded, he said, I never really knew how to master. I just kind of just did it. Mm-hmm. It's like, and Jimmy knows how to master, and I hear the things he does. And, back to 3BC, those songs, we would just record 30, 40-minute long songs really crappily. And Jimmy was showing me one night what he actually does to polish and it's so funny. We were at a party once and someone asked me, Matt, like, how do you get the sound of those recordings, man? And we were like cracking up how people like really actually sincerely like it and take it seriously. We're like, wow, that's awesome. Because he knows how to do this stuff. He someone coughed here or something dropped, so I cross-faded it to get it out. And there's a frequency from a TV being on here that you don't really hear it, but you see it as a sound wave there, and he hears it because he's a whack job. And by taking it out, it makes it clearer. It doesn't make it sound better per se. It doesn't sound bad that it's in there, but it's even, 0.01% better, right? And all those 0.01s add up. And even if it all only adds up to a 0.5 extra better, well, everyone's saying this one sounds better than the other 2, and we couldn't believe how good the other 2 sounded.
You need someone like him to do something like that.
Yeah, we just, got that extra piece of the puzzle. And, Jimmy was always like one of the biggest supporters of my music since I literally started playing shows. I met him. I was a senior in high school. He was a freshman. And he joked, I so poorly attended the tech ed class we were in together. He only found out at the end of the year that I was actually in the class. He thought it was like my lunch period and I was swinging by to hang out, say hi to some friends. You know how it is in high school, And he didn't realize I was in the class. I just cut it so much that I was only there. And he realized I was only kind of talking to him in the class. He had like a Beatles shirt or Led Zeppelin shirt or Lord knows what, And I remember like one of our first conversations, we talked about the Velvet Underground, and the next day he came back and like he hadn't heard of the Velvet or had heard of him but didn't know anything about him. I forget that, and he'll tell me exactly what it was later after he hears this interview. And the next day he comes back to me spitting facts about the Velvet Underground. Yo, I listened to the Velvet Underground. I really liked their fourth album. The first album was a little rough, but I was like, all right, this kid's going to hang, man. And he started coming to my shows, and literally since high school.
The red light shows.
Yeah, and before that, the Relative Function and everything
I know
else.
about that.
Yeah, and there's a reason I never told you. And he was always just there, and once he started his own groups, we would just have him open up for us, and he'd have his thing because he was always there anyway. So it was like, help him support his thing. He's supported us so long. Then, we eventually started playing together. He came over. He was going to special guest at like a few songs for an album release party. We practiced the 2 songs he was going to play on, and he knew the rest of them. So no one in Medicevich ever got asked to join the band, or no one I work with. It was never like, let's start doing this. And with Nick, with the Astronauto, with Matt, with 3BC, and even Claire, Graby and her group, we were all in the same boat together. We were all hanging out the same places, listening to the same music, going to see the same bands, going to play the same open mics.
Yo, Claire knows the lyrics to your music.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And crazy. It's literally, we built an army of people who just love each other's music and, are just great friends with each other. And, we don't fit in anywhere else. So we've got our band of misfits. And at this point, it's grown to a sizable amount where, it's just really cool. It's its own organization. The fact that it's the same core group of people I've been hanging out with for years. It was tripping me out at the mastering process. We held the mastering sessions at a rehearsal space, Ryan's Garage, the barn.
Yeah.
And as Nick and Jimmy were doing it, and I was really, there's nothing I could do. I was just there to kind of hype them off, Robbie showed up, my cousin David, a bunch of other, your brother Richie, who I play with also,
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, it feels like this is like the newest thing I'm doing in this totally different project. It's the same people I've been hanging out with, banging on things, making noise, and I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it now. It's really beautiful how it really has become a community. And
you didn't go out and find it. You just kind of
and that's the whole thing with that whole speeding up or slowing down. I hope it grows, and I'm not going to make an effort to speed up or slow down because I realized I have the things I was like really setting out to find, I guess. I will always be searching for that extra something, but and
when
really
you were
at the end
doing
of
it
the day,
with Nick Beto, working with him again,
the monster.
Part 3, it's like, have you guys ever, sat down with ideas and have you worried about, been there, done that? Have you ever worried about reaching that point?
No, well, I worry about it. It hasn't happened. I've been worrying about that. I remember on my way to Astronauto recording that. I remember being like, I really hope this doesn't like suck. And I was like so excited about doing it. Just the idea of booking it and staying at their house for a few days and just the excitement of doing it. And on my way there, I'm like, I don't even know if I have songs to do this. These songs might suck. I don't know if, it's going to be this epic thing I have in my head at all because I didn't like really write it out or anything, and it just happened. And then 2, I was really like to the point of like I feel like it probably did some mental damage to me with the anxiety. I just put myself under such pressure to try to top it. I almost had like this imaginary, just thinking, people are going to judge it, people aren't going to like it as much, and I really didn't realize until I'm like, what people? I'm so surprised no one asked me until afterwards. Finally, someone heard me out loud. I internalized it, and because I kind of all along knew how silly it was that I felt that way and was like driving myself so nuts. Like, we have to get it done, blah, blah, blah. I got to book all these shows. Like, what people, man? You're holding yourself to this ridiculous standard. And it came out in a way that people thought it was at least as good, and a lot of people thought it was even a tiny bit better. And so, of course, on 3, it was I had more of a feeling of not worrying about it as much and just, I hope people like it. I hope it's good. So I'm trying to learn, and I wish I practiced it more than I preached it. The less I worry about it, the more naturally and organically and better it comes out, So yes, I worry about it, although I know I shouldn't, and I try not to,
Dude, yeah, I mean, it's good to put some pressure on yourself to top yourself creatively, internally, but, if you just put it out there, people are going to like it, or maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe they won't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and of course, and this one we were joking. It really, like, I forget we even recorded the album because it's like it happened so smooth, and more than I was saying about the first one with 3. I really didn't think I had any songs. I had like several ideas, and then in the weeks before, I really fleshed them out and composed a lot of them. And like really actually ended up going through the material I did have with more scrutiny on, like really meditated on the lyrics, really sat there. And like if I didn't like a line, not like I surrendered so much in the past and like dealt with any lines I didn't like. But, I'd come out with it. Oh, man, that's awesome. And even if I liked how it came out, I would just sit there and be like, let me just like think about it. Let me just look at it. And if I really knew I didn't like it, I would cross it off and not worry about, well, what to replace it with. Maybe this line works. Okay. And that's why, to the point where we went in and I knew I wanted at least one more song on it. And I knew the one song didn't have vocals at all. Yeah. Although I knew it was probably the best or like the masterpiece part of the album, which is what most people are saying. That song, what are we even asking for? So yeah, we tried not to worry about it, and it happened so naturally that it was like a dream, that like I had a dream about something awesome happening, and I woke up and I have my life's works masterpiece, the thing. I keep joking, there's no inner George Lucas with Astronauto 3 saying as much as I know I made my Star Wars trilogy, my probably the thing I'll look back on, at least at this point, like, not in a pessimistic way. I really don't think I could, a 3-album long concept that came out the way I wanted it to. I couldn't be, more fulfilled from that side of things, with that idea of it.
I just hope people come see you live, and you got a couple shows lined up in January.
And that's what fuels a lot of when I get into a darker spot, because other things go so good. It's like, why are you being a dick, man? We're just trying to have fun. That's my like point. And to see still people are so hung up about, it's a popularity contest. This person brings 50 people, although they suck, or not even suck. They just don't
suck.
I'm so tired of like, a cutesy chick going up there or guy, I didn't mean to say chick, nothing wrong about women, playing. I wish I saw more women doing it. But someone, this is my first time.
There are.
Like playing. Endless. I haven't played my guitar in 3 weeks. And the last 2 people I saw, one was a guy, one was a girl. It was just the one that upset me most. It happened to be a chick I knew. That's why I said that. Anyway, man, and it's just, dude, not even like, it's not even a good or bad. I'm better than you. I deserve more. It's like, I drove twice as long. I bring 5 times as much crap. I obsess over it constantly. I try to make a living out of doing just music. You're complaining you needed that spot because you have your job in the morning and you're friends with the promoter, so he gave you that good spot, and I play when everyone leaves because he knows I'm going to show up no matter what, because I'm addicted to it. And no matter how angry and upset I get about it, I love it so much that I'm willing to put up with the abusive relationship I'm holding with myself to do it, So I'm glad you're rooting for me, and that people, I think I've had enough of a breakdown over the last year where people are really, the community is making themselves more present. And I'm realizing people were there all along, a lot more than I thought, and so it's been really nice to see kind of, every time I'm like, there's one time I was literally like so fucking upset a few months ago, and just like whatever, had to get my mind off of it. And I had to buy some wires for my newest synthesizer, my vocoder. It's featured heavily on the album. I needed to buy some wires for it to start using it live. I went to Best Buy. It runs on like a phone charger, like a USB plug, right? As I'm checking out, some kid, some like teenager looking dude came up to me, and he like head down, really shy, like tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, I just wanted to say, and my birthday was like a few weeks before. I didn't really put anything about my birthday on any social media. I know he's not friends with me on Facebook, so, I just wanted to say, happy birthday, and I'm really excited about your new album, and, really looking forward to it, and I really love what you do, and shook my hand and walked away. Before I was like stunned. I was like, as he's walking away, I'm like, thanks, man. And the cashier's looking at me like, that was fucking awesome. And
because you don't know who's listening to you.
It was like a light. It was so weird how, and like that last Sip the Show I played, things were really dark that day, man. Not just the fact that
the lights wouldn't work when you tried to turn it off.
That was funny. I didn't give a shit about that. And it was awesome that we turned off the lights. That was, I was saying I kind of stopped playing shows for a few months, and the ones I did, it didn't really feel like I was, because there were a lot of DIY or smaller spots and only my core group of friends. So it was a lot more relaxed. So it was, Sip This, we play, we get the biggest turnout ever. So it was like, I was looking for a big return to form. It was going to be an exciting, and it still was. But on the way there, it started snowing right as I had to pack up. We had, 2 deaths in the family, and that's right before either of them, passed away. And it was starting to look really, they both died within a week later, pretty much. So I was like, as I'm setting up at the show and absolutely no one's there, I'm like, this, I finally worked up the courage to get back, and I'm like wondering why I'm doing this. I'm not even sure if the other performers are showing up. As I'm sitting there, this dude who I kind of recognize, I had met him before at a few other shows, comes walking in and like so excited to see me. He's like, I wasn't even sure if the show was still happening, man. I drove all the way from, whatever town he had.
I wasn't even sure.
He had driven over an hour, and he was so excited to see me. Didn't even know my name, by the way. And I was like, dude, I feel bad. I know we've met a few times. I don't know your name. And he's like, oh, that's okay. I was feeling bad. I didn't know your name. I just know you as Medicine Fish Astronauto guy.
Yeah.
And which I thought was even cooler, right? Yeah, how many bands do you full on love that you don't know all the members' names, right?
Yeah. I just got off the train that night. I was like, oh man,
and you guys came, and it was like 25 people showed up, but in the middle of like a really, really the nastiest weather. Nobody came out that was going to come out, and it was a really great turnout, and everybody there was leaning forward and moved their chairs up, and the other performers were awesome, and I'm playing with one of them tonight, actually. I don't know when this interview is airing.
Yeah, exactly. Graz at the Mr. Beery's, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a show next week at the Space at Westbury, right?
Yeah, that just got booked. Yeah, Thursday. And then 2 weeks in a row, I'm playing my friend Patty's place. Astronauto is opening up for a local Queens band called Woof Woof.
Yeah.
That started in '87. Legends, and cool. They do a reunion show every few years, and I kind of know their people, their friends. I've become friends with them over the years. So, yeah, and then the next night, Medicine Fish is playing there with our friend Sophus, which is another great
and people can hear Astronauto 3 and all the other Astronautos on Bandcamp, astronautoband.bandcamp.com.
Astronauto.bandcamp. Yeah, how cool is that they put the artist names? I think that's a cool move on their part.
Yeah.
Astronauto.bandcamp.com. Yeah.
And Facebook, Twitter at Astronauto Band.
Yeah. And then Astronauto Music, it is on Instagram, which is ironic because it's a lot of art. And I think it's Astronauto Music. I just search SoundCloud, it'll come up. Yeah. At this point, if you Google Astronauto, which there's another thing that blows me away. People don't know how to spell Astronauto. It's astronaut with an O at the end. Look up how to spell astronaut. If you don't know how to spell it, that's upsetting to me. So Astronauto, if you Google it, it all comes up now. So that's a pretty cool thing that happened over the last year or so.
Sweet. I couldn't have think of a better artist to start off this podcast with.
Thanks, man.
John, man. This was
so much fun.
So much fun, man.
Thank you for having me.
And you can get me on Twitter and Instagram at Peter A Radio. And I did a nice little write-up of Astronauto and 9 other bands and artists you should look out for in 2018. And you can check that out on my website, peteraradio.us. Guys, this has been the very first My Little Underground podcast. I'm Peter A, and I'll see you guys in a while. Big shout out to Smiley Arriaga on the boards and the good folks here at Continental Studios. I'm going to try to dig the car out of the snow now, guys. All right. See ya.